The next surface that we want to create is the rim surface. So this is a simple revolve, and the rim here is coloured in green. That's this layer rim up here. So if we wanted to rotate that, we could go into rim and pick all of the curves, but you notice that again all of the curves are independent of each other and they've all got their own individual pivot points, which is going to cause us a problem if we try and revolve those. So what we need to do is group those curves together. So let's go into Edit Group, and if we pick on Group, you'll see that this actually won't work, because if I go Group, it says it can't group items with different parents. Notice that error message has now disappeared, so I can't see it, but if you click on the text box next to it, you can look back over the history of all the comments. So there it says can't group items with different parents. So what exactly does that mean? Well, an easy way to see that is if we go into Utilities SBD window, and SBD stands for Scene Block Diagram. This creates us a window which shows us in a graphical form all of the objects within the scene that we're looking at. So this window is much like any other window in that we can actually zoom out, we can pan across, and do most of the things, or some of the things, that we can do in the normal view window. You notice that there's some objects here highlighted, and if we zoom into those, you'll find that those are our curves that we've picked, and they are on the layer rim. If we do Alt L, which is look at, you can see all of those selected curves. So there they are, all highlighted in white. What you notice is that some of them are on the top level, but there are one or two that aren't on the top level. They're actually sitting under a node here, and they're at a level below the ones at the top. So what that message that we saw meant when it said can't group items with different parents is talking about these curves here, which have got a different parent node to these ones here, so they're on a different level. To cure that, what we have to do is, if we go into Edit, Ungroup, and we need the box there because we want to change that to Move Up. So we're going to move those nodes, move those curves up to the level above. So if I then go OK, or go, there we can see the ones that have changed have now moved up to the top level. They're the only ones selected, and so we got them all on the same level now. Now if we go and pick our curves again, so back into Rim, pick Objects, and we do Alt L again, can you see that they're all on the same top level, which is exactly what we want. So now we can group them together. So if we go into Edit Group, suddenly the pivots are all in one spot, which is over at the origin, which is where we'd expect them to be. And if we look in our SBD window and do an Alt L on the selected objects, they all sit under that one node. So the one node being that group, and the individual curves are under here. Still all on the same layer, so you can see that rim layer there in green. So now if we close the SBD window down, when we do a revolve, you'll see that the revolve is generated from that one group there, one curve group. Now for our rim, we've got a 5-spoke wheel, so each rim segment needs to be 72 degrees. We're going to have 5 of them, and we know that if we've got at least 4 segments around a circle, then the circle will be accurate. So with 5 we're going to be even more accurate. So with a sweep angle of 72 degrees and one segment, we're revolving it around the y-axis and using local axes, so in other words using the pivot point there, and we've got the revolve that we want. The only thing is, it's not quite at the right angle that we want, because if we look in this view, we really want it round this way, 36 degrees in that direction. So we could rotate the surfaces, but if we try and do that, so if I pick that object, so that collection of surfaces, then we could rotate that. So I'm using rotate, and then if we go into the user prompt up here and go 0, and it's going to be a -36, 0, -36, because if you think about the right hand thumb rule, you point your thumb along the y-axis and your hand, the way that the rest of your hand curls, shows the positive rotation direction. So negative rotation direction is the one that we want. So we want it minus 36 in Y. So when I hit enter, it says an active item has construction history. In other words, there's history between those curves and this set of surfaces here. So we probably don't want to delete that. It means that if we keep the history, then if we wanted to change one of these curves, we could do. Probably unlikely on a rim, but it's always a possibility. So rather than rotating the surfaces, if instead of the surfaces we go and pick the curve, so I'm using pick object because I want to pick the whole of that group of curves, so that's that node there. So there's our surface group, there's our curve group, so we want to rotate the curve group. Again, we're going to rotate, and we're going to do 0 in X, and it's a minus 36. We don't actually need to put the Z in if it's 0. And then we hit enter, and that rotates it by 36 degrees. So if we now look in that direction, that's exactly where we want it. So our spoke's going to lie in the middle of that rim.